What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and show you guys what under Tesla's trend is showing, how this could affect the share price for tomorrow and the future going forward. I'm also going to break down the CPI report that just came out and talk about how this may affect the markets and Tesla as well. I'm going to talk about the PPI report and why this is just as important as it's coming out for tomorrow, and I'm going to end this video with some big updates from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, as he has sold about $6.9 billion worth of Tesla stock. He also mentioned something very important on his Twitter page about the semi-truck for Tesla. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about how this is all affecting Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the MooMoo link down below in the description. If you sign up for MooMoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,500. And the best part is, out of these 10 free stocks, 5 are going to come from the wheel right here, which means that you could win 5 free Tesla shares, 5 free AMC shares, or a mix of all of them from this wheel. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla was up about 3.89% for the day, but almost the entire market was just rallying today because we had the CPI report that came out. And let me show you something crazy right now. If you look at SPY was down here yesterday, and we gapped up like crazy. We're now testing the $420 level of resistance. The market was excited. If you look at NASDAQ, same thing. And the market is kind of resembling the matrix because the NASDAQ and SPY tend to be heavily correlated. You can see this giant gap that formed on the NASDAQ, right? And why is the market just rallying like this? The answer is we had the CPI report that came out that played a massive role. CPI came out at about 8.5% for the month of July. I know the numbers could be manipulated, but these are the numbers that the market kind of like goes over and accepts. So with that said, CPI was up about 8.5% overall. This is not necessarily a good number because it's still insanely high, but it's a lot lower than the last report that we got, and also it's lower than expectations. That's the big thing that the market was looking at. Now, I also mentioned the fact that core CPI excluding food and energy would be important too. That was estimated to be 6.1%. It ended up coming out at 5.9%, so lower than expected, and it was the same for the month of June. So overall, pretty decent report. I mean, it still is very high, which is not good, which means the Fed will likely have to be a lot more hawkish later on going forward, and that won't be good for the markets maybe as we approach September. But until then, and as of right now, the market's just rallying. The market's very excited about this because I showed you guys this right over here. If CPI came out at like 8.6, 8.7%, that would just be okay. Anything between 8 to 8.5% would be pretty good, and it came out at 8.5% overall, with core CPI meeting or actually being below expectations and meeting the same level as last month. So the market responded very positively to this. I also kind of like foresaw this because I was talking about how gas prices dropped by a considerable amount for the month of July compared to June. So once again, pretty darn good. So that, and as a result, caused the market to continue to rally. And does it look like the market is done? As of right now, we're not seeing a clear sign of that. It looks like the SPY has a little bit more steam left, but there is something that kind of concerns me. The SPY, and this is pretty funny, in the past, when the SPY was dropping, its support was at 420, and it got a really nice balance right over there. So right now, the SPY is actually continuing to push up, and one of the things you're going to notice is that 420 is where the key resistance is. The question is, could the SPY break past this? If the SPY breaks this, Tesla would have some potential to break up, push up with the market. If not, then we could actually get rejected, and even if we do break all the way up to like 424, 425. I still think the SPY is going to get rejected eventually because we have these giant gaps and we have a ton of gaps. We have so many gaps down there. Eventually, they're going to get filled and the market is going to take a bit of a hit. Now, when it comes to Tesla, there is something I want to talk about. And right now, we did get a nice push as of right now, and it's looking from a technical standpoint like this thing might get a rejection and start dropping down, but I can't guarantee it's going to start tomorrow. It's possible it actually breaks a little bit up, and if this thing could actually break past 900, that would be a pretty decent sign if it holds that, but as of right now, it's not looking like that's what's going to be the case. Now, I want to talk about why on earth that is, but first I got to mention something for the markets. If you are trading other things, PPI is coming out. This is essentially like CPI except from the producer or the selling side, so this is also very important. It was very high last month, but because CPI is down, it's very kind of indicative that PPI is also going to be a little bit down. It's coming out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for August 11th. I'm not necessarily too concerned about this. I don't think this is going to be too bad, but it is possible for this thing to actually hold the market up just a little bit if the market does respond kind of positively, because we've been seeing PPI just growing up and up and up for final goods and services. So I would like to see a bit of a relief for it. So that could actually be pretty decent. And that's why I'm not fully convinced that Tesla's going to start just crashing from here. I think it could actually hold up a little bit for like a day or so before this thing does start to actually drop a little bit more aggressively. Now, why on earth are things not looking the best for Tesla in my opinion? This is where I want to talk about this. So I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but let me actually talk about this. The NASDAQ, all right, this thing was up 2.89%, right? Tesla is notorious for having a beta of above 2.0. So on a decent day, on a typical day, Tesla should have been up 5 to 6% today, maybe 6% or even higher than that. It should have rallied like over 6% on a decent day. Instead, this thing was just barely up 3.8%. So this might have been because of the fact that Tesla was meant to kind of drop a bit today. It could have dropped a little bit lower, but the big news from the market, the big reaction to CPI is what actually pushed it up. Otherwise, it would have been red after the news about Elon Musk. And because that's the case, we are seeing some signs of weakness, in my opinion. I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about those in a sec. Let me just show you this article right here. So Elon Musk, he cashed in $6.9 billion of Tesla stock. It's always the 69s with this guy, pretty funny. But he's doing this, right? Ever since the whole Twitter deal is just still going on. I mean, the whole thing is still very, very confusing and crazy. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. But the thing that concerns me a bit about this is Elon Musk did mention that he didn't plan on selling any more Tesla stock for a while, and he ended up doing it. So the question is he going to do it again? And that is something you should be prepared for. He could actually make another announcement again that he's selling another billions worth, another few billions worth. It could happen out of nowhere. And this did kind of catch a lot of investors off guard. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see a reaction to this. Now, can I guarantee that with PPI coming out and also the overall market kind of responding possibly positively to it? Not necessarily. But I still don't see this as the best of signs for Tesla stock. News like this had a tendency of causing it to drop pretty hard in the past. So with that out of the way, I want to talk about how this all could affect Tesla going forward. So right now we're seeing this downtrend that's starting to be respected, but there's no guarantee it's going to just continue to follow this perfectly, because it could still push up a little bit. I still think the SPY and NASDAQ have some gas left, and it really depends on the overall market from this point, because like I mentioned to you guys, the SPY is at that key resistance level. Could we break past 420 and go as high as 424, 425? Yes, but I don't see it going much higher after that. I think soon it's going to start to fill this gap and start coming down. And I honestly think the same thing is going to happen to Tesla. Can I guarantee it's going to happen tomorrow? Not necessarily, but as of right now, it's looking kind of bearish in my opinion. And I do think Tesla is going to continue to drop. You could see Tesla did try to push up after it hit like 940. It dropped down. It pushed up and made a lower high. Then it dropped down and made a lower low. So that's a very bearish indication right over there. If we look at RSI, the RSI also is starting to come down a bit, like right over here. You guys can see the RSI was a little bit higher. And as the share price is dropping, the RSI is a little bit like the same. So it's a little bit bearish in my opinion to see this playing out. As far as the MACD goes, looking not the best right now. It's like pushing up, but you guys can notice on the 30 minutes, it's starting to curl a little bit. So it's starting to slow down as this thing was progressing. So on a bigger time frame, you could see the same thing essentially. Tesla was pushing down. We're almost about to get a flip right over here on the MACD, but I don't think it's going to be a very, very strong flip from here. I think we could see a little bit more upside, maybe just slightly, before this thing gets another rejection, starts to drop down. So I'm not seeing this thing rallying all the way up to like 940, all the way up to like 930, maybe not even like 920. I think it's going to get rejected a little bit earlier, and we are going to start to see this thing downtrend a bit from here. So another thing that I'm essentially seeing is what the EMAs are telling us. And if we look at this maybe like on the daily, you guys are going to notice we already got that 1348 EMA crossover, and the 13 EMA is starting to show some kind of like weakness from this point. So if Tesla does end up breaking below the 200 EMA, that would not be the best of signs, and this thing could actually show a little bit more bearish price action from there. Now, I don't see this thing dropping insanely hard, like I mentioned to you guys previously. As of right now, I think it's going to hold up pretty well just to start off with, and it could start to come down a little bit later. But just to make this simple, I want to see this thing hold above 800 for the next week or so. I really want to see that. If we can't hold 800, there's the risk of a gap fill down to 776 or the high 700s. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I'm not saying it's going to crash tomorrow. I'm just saying just remember that. Now, just to talk about what is really going to go out for tomorrow, it really depends on the overall market, and the market's in a very capricious state. What I would say for Tesla is pay very close attention to support and resistance levels. And what you'll notice in the price action from today, look at the way this thing was moving. All right. This thing was all the way down in the 840s. That's one of the support zones I mapped out. It pushed all the way up to 892, which is kind of unusual. It came down, it was trying to hold 858, came a little bit below that, pushed all the way up. Then it was pushing up, right? And right here, we could see this thing touched around 880. Around 880, this thing was pushing up and down and up and down. Came a little bit down, then it pushed up. It was basically fighting really hard for 880. So you could see how this resistance level was affecting it. And we often see moves like this. So for tomorrow, what tends to happen in the markets is we get a very big move into open, followed by a bit of a drop, and then kind of like a bleed off as time goes on. So I'm seeing something very similar happening for tomorrow. And I think we could actually see a very similar trend leading to a slight red day. And I know PPI is coming out, so that's why I still think it's possible for Tesla to push up a bit. So if Tesla were to push up, I don't see this thing going as high as 910, 915. I think it might push up like this, maybe go as high as 900, get a rejection from there, then continue to drop just like that. It's going to try to hold 880. I'm not sure it's going to hold that. It might actually come below that. And the next key support zone is going to be around that 850 range. Now, I just want to make it very clear that it's a little bit hard to predict exactly what Tesla would do, but it is looking a little bit bearish after the Elon Musk news. And if the bears start to step in, the shorts start coming and people start to panic, it could drop even lower. As of right now, I'm not going to make that call though, because I don't like to be too pessimistic, because I'm not seeing the clear signs just yet of it tumbling that hard. It may take a couple of days, but just to remind you, if it does drop below 858, there's a risk of it actually starting to test that 840 zone. So it has a lot of room to actually drop after that. If 840 doesn't hold, I'd be looking at 830. If 830 doesn't hold, then 815, and finally 800, which I don't really see it dropping that hard in one day, but the news and the whole media could actually start to cause it to drop after the whole Elon Musk selling news. So be prepared for that. I'm a little bit more bearish than bullish for tomorrow, and I do think that this could actually drag Tesla a little bit down. The overall market is what could play a big role in kind of pushing it up into open, but other than that, I do think we're going to end up dropping down to the 850 range or even lower than that, depending on how much we are pushed down. But as of right now, I'm going to stick with 850 as kind of the low zone for now, and it could go even lower as we approach next week, depending on how the market responds. So even if Tesla does push up, guys, I won't be too confident about this move, because remember, I'm going to remind you guys again, the SPY, the NASDAQ, they're not looking too good. Stocks should not have these giant gaps like this. If the SPY pushes up and gets a rejection, you start to see this thing trading around 416, 415. It's most likely going to come tumbling down to fill the gap all the way down to 410. And the whole market could actually take a big hit. Do I know if it's going to happen this week? Not necessarily. It could actually start next week, but I want to prepare you guys for this, okay? So don't be too comfortable in the price action you see for tomorrow. If we are kind of green, be ready for the potential drop, because the bears may be kind of playing with the retail. They like to play games to manipulate stocks. Be ready for that at any given moment. Now, I do have great news for Tesla for the long-term future, because we do have this big announcement from Elon Musk that came out. Elon Musk mentioned on his Twitter page that the Tesla 500-mile range semi-truck starts shipping this year, Cybertruck next year. So that's huge news. Absolutely incredible. And a lot of people are not too happy with Elon Musk right now. I understand why some people are frustrated with him selling. I really understand, but we can't necessarily blame him, because he's the one that helped give us this opportunity to even invest in Tesla, and he's done a lot of great for the world. So yeah, he's not perfect. Nobody is perfect, but I still appreciate everything he has done. I see this as a massive, massive opportunity for Tesla, because there's no telling how big the semi-truck business is going to be for Tesla going forward. It could bring in billions of dollars in revenue and really improve their earnings. So be ready for that. We're seeing a lot of headlines actually coming out about this. So I really think this could be pretty awesome. So be ready for this for the long-term future. With that out of the way, thank you all so much for listening, and be ready for tomorrow. Just to remind you guys, even if my price prediction for Tesla is kind of off, let's just say the market kind of like rallies a little bit more, the SPY is up maybe like 1 or 2%. I'm not seeing it lasting for too long. What I'm essentially seeing is the market getting rejected at an earlier base, and then finally getting that big rejection and a bit of a drop. So I think the market's going to turn bearish relatively soon. So I want to prepare you guys for that. Now, sometimes the market likes to trick you. The market makers, they like to take advantage of you. Be ready for that. All right. With that out of the way, thank you all so much for listening. Pay very close attention to support and resistance levels. Watch your indicators carefully and get ready for tomorrow, because we have a big day for Tesla and the market. With that out of the way, thank you so much. Have an amazing, amazing, amazing day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still very bright, and peace out.